Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Robson. I'm back again with a video, this time about the Recall and Teach Challenge. Okay, so what is the Recall and Teach Challenge? The Recall and Teach Challenge is related to the TED Talk sorter. I made a separate video about this sorter, so if you haven't watched that, make sure you watch that. Anyway, after you're done your TED Talk sorter for a TED Talk, the next step would be Recall and Teach. The challenge of recalling and teaching. What specifically are we trying to accomplish through this assignment? The first learning goal, is to practice active recall. It's a very effective way to learn and to study. And so what we're going to do is we're going to practice it. The second thing we want to do is learn how to make connections between what I learned and my life so that I can better remember it. And the last goal is to practice your presentation skills to become a more effective speaker. And the way we will do that is by making a 5-minute video without notes about the topic you just learned about in the TED Talk. Okay, so ideally, this gives you a chance to improve your speaking skills and presentation skills in a low-stakes environment, meaning that you're not presenting to the whole class. For now, you're just presenting to me, and I can give you feedback on your presentation skills, which are key to our curriculum. So let's talk about how to make this 5-minute recall video. There are a few steps to follow. After you've completed the TED Talk sorter, you're going to review the information once more, and then for recall, you have to actually hide the information so you can't see it. That's a key. And then you have to practice your speech. Practice your speech by actually talking out loud and answering questions based on what you learned from the TED Talk, so you can find out which areas you're weak in and which areas you're strong in. So I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So I'm going to practice using this TED Talk sorter about learning how to learn. And I am at step 3 because I put away the information. And now I'm recalling, okay, what was the topic about? It was about learning. What was the main idea? I'm going to have to think about that. I think the main idea was that learning how to learn is the most important tool you can learn in life, and that sadly many students are not effective, not learning effectively, and that limits their chances in life. So that's what I got out of it. Now, what were the key points everyone should know? I'm trying to remember. Okay, the key points everyone should know. Okay, so number 1, that we learn best when we go between 2 states of focus. The first is the focus state, when we're really trying to learn. We're sitting with our books and we're studying, right? And then the other state is the diffuse state, which is like the relaxed state. It's this is the state where you're having a cup of tea and you're just taking a little break. So what the research is showing is that we learn best when we facilitate or we go between these 2 states. So that's the first thing. It's not wise to just focus on something for hours and hours and hours. You need to give yourself a break. The second thing I learned is that there's a way to do this. It's called the Pomodoro technique. And it also helps with procrastination. What it is timing yourself for 25 minutes to be focused, and then giving yourself a 5-minute break to be in the diffuse, relaxed state, and then going back and alternating. So that was interesting. Another thing I learned is that exercise improves our memory. I also learned that people who have poor short-term memories are often creative thinkers, which is a plus. However, those people are going to have to work a little bit harder at memorizing key facts. Another thing I learned is that slow thinking, or going through information at a slower pace, is better than going through information quickly. So actually, it's not necessarily true that somebody in my class who finishes the chapter in 15 minutes knows the information better than I do if I take double that time or even triple that time to read it. Actually, the research is showing that a slow thinker, slow reader like me is actually digesting the information deeper, which is better. Another thing I learned is that students often think that they know something really well, but they don't really know it. And when there's a disconnect between what we think we know and what we actually know, it's called the illusion of competence. And the veil is lifted on the illusion of competence when we do a test and we have test anxiety because we realize we're not masters at the skill yet because we can't answer some questions. So that's the illusion of competence. What do we do about it? Well, the speaker talked about how we actually should practice test ourselves, whether it's through cue cards or practice tests given to us by a teacher or practice tests we find online. The best way to reduce test anxiety and actually become real masters of a topic is to test ourselves until it's easy and we don't make mistakes. We've learned it so well that it's like second nature. Another thing that I learned was that doing this, which is active recall, recalling information I've just learned without looking at my notes, is one of the best ways to learn something deeply. So that's it. Those are the methods that I've learned for deeper learning. Okay, so now what I've just done is step number 3. I've recalled the information. Now, next step is that once I feel like I'm satisfied, I can easily teach this topic. I would turn on my microphone and webcam and I would time myself. I would actually go to Google Timer, and on my screen, I would just have the timer and I'd be filming myself, but I have the timer going for 5 minutes. And then once I click 5 minutes start, then I start presenting the information. And then I stop presenting when 5 minutes is up. So I'm trying to be concise. Now let's talk a little bit about the presentation skills we're practicing. What makes a good presentation? I think you probably remember from other classes some key things, but let's review. You want to try to hook the viewer with an interesting fact, a question, a personal story. You want to introduce the topic clearly. Ideally, you're using hand gestures. Ideally, also, you are avoiding filler words like and So for example, you're avoiding this kind of thing. Like, I think this video is like about, I think the topic is like about this learning thing, like, So you're trying to avoid that because it doesn't make you appear confident. The other thing you want to do is to speak not too slow and not too fast. So if you're speaking at a medium pace, then you'll be understood. Speaking of being understood, try to enunciate your words. So let me give you an example of that. Let's look at the word enunciate. Here's 2 ways I could say it. The first way is not enunciated, which means I'm not stressing the consonants especially. Enunciate. Did you notice that you didn't really hear the T at the end of the word? Now I'm going to properly say this word. I'm going to enunciate. Enunciate. Did you hear that T, the crisp T at the end? You heard it because I was enunciating. Okay, show interest in the topic, right? Like you're not a zombie, you're alive. Summarize the key points at the end of your 5-minute lesson and repeat the key idea. So that's it. Once you're happy with your video, I'll film an example, submit your video for formative assessment by uploading it as an MP4 to Google Classroom. Optional follow-up that your teacher may have assigned to you is a formative checklist of your presentation skills. So just to recap, in this video, I showed you how to complete the Recall and Teach challenge. We talked about why we're doing this challenge, and also we talked about the steps you need to take to get to that 5-minute active recall video about the TED Talk you watched. So I wish you a lot of luck as you make these videos, and I thank you again for listening. Have a great day.